too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV. Here we are.
Business school, and I want to say good morning, and I hope that you're safe. I hope that you're okay in the midst of all this chaos that's happening out here in the world. The world has gone a little bit crazy, hasn't it? It's been sorry, I wanted some water so my throat will be clear. These are very strange, very unprecedented times. There's a lot happening that I haven't seen in my lifetime, that I don't know if we're going to see in 50 lifetimes. And I think that there's a point where, as the dust settles and, the smoke clears and the chaos dies down, that you start to find a way to have what would be considered to be rational conversations about what the end game is, because here's the deal so far. Let me just tell you the real truth so far in terms of what I'm seeing with all the chaos and everything else. Black people have been used. Black people are being used right now. We are pawns in a global chess match, between the left and the right. It's a chess match between the socialists / communists and the capitalists. It's a battle between the fascists and Antifa. And if you don't know about Antifa is one of those groups that just keep showing up to these black protests that are supposed to be peaceful, and they're burning things to the ground. They are putting people's lives at risk. They're causing the cops to fire rubber bullets on your black butt. I ain't never been hit by a rubber bullet, but I hope I never need to know what that feels like. Because I'll tell you what, I know the last time Louisville, Kentucky, from what I recall, the last time there was a big protest in Louisville, I actually was the catalyst of that protest. I'll just say it like that. Judge Olu Stevens was in big trouble or getting a lot of heat back because he wasn't sending black men to prison who were convicted by all white juries. So, of course, the hillbilly rednecks down in Kentucky decided to put the pressure on him. So I went by and stood by my brother in that situation, and I'm glad I did, and I think it made a difference. And it wasn't anything like what you're seeing right now. Nothing like what you're seeing right now. In this situation, you're seeing, anarchists. You're seeing anonymous. You're seeing, lots of left-wing organizations that have almost been prepared in a military-style fashion for what they're seeing right now. They're just, it's almost like they've been waiting for it to pop off. So, after the murder of George Floyd kind of set it off, suddenly you've got instantly buildings being burned down in all these places with no black people. Did anybody else notice that? Give me a yes or no if you noticed that. Did you notice how the hell they having black protests on behalf of a dead black man in Des Moines, Iowa? Like, since when did white people in Des Moines, Iowa, or black people for that matter, for anybody, care about a dead black man? I remember years ago having, I remember screaming at the top of my lungs back in like 2006, 2002, 1998, 2010, about all the dead black men being killed and what the police were doing to black men. I remember screaming about this, and wasn't nobody listening. Wasn't nobody trying to hear nothing about a dead black man. Nobody gave a shit. Suddenly, you're seeing protests in Berlin. I'm like, hold up, wait. Skip, something's going on. I told you guys. I told you, from the beginning, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I know conspiracies are real. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I know conspiracies are real. And in this situation, just like when I told you guys about what was going on with the whole pandemic scenario, where I told you from the jump when they said 2 million deaths, I said ain't gonna be no damn 2 million. It's gonna be about 1/10 of that, if that, right? And it wasn't. It was actually 1/20th of that, right? Well, same thing is true here. I smell a rat. I smell some BS. I smell a scenario where black people are being used as pawns in a bigger game, and so. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily against the bigger game. I personally think capitalism does need to be checked. I do believe that the federal government needs to be dealt with. I believe that we have fundamental issues that need to be addressed when it comes to the police state and the disrespect officers are allowed to show to American citizens. What I don't want to do, though, is have black people get rode like a damn horse to the finish line, and then when you get to the finish line, don't nobody really want to congratulate the horse. Nobody wants to give the horse credit for his hard work or get, no, the prize money don't go to the horse. The prize money goes to the jockey. The prize money goes to the owner. And unfortunately, right now, black folks are being ridden like a horse, right? Like, yeah, we're mad about that dead black guy. What's his name? George. That was his name. That was his name. Giddy up, Negro. Giddy up. Right? Like they're riding you to the bank, to the finish line in a bigger game. So it's fine if they want to use us for the bigger game to a point. It's okay to be used, to a point, right? The question is, are you using them too, right? It's okay, in business, for example, people use me all the time. I'm okay with being used, but we better be using each other, because if you using me and I ain't using you, then that goes from being good sex to becoming sexual assault. that goes from us making sweet love, in a quid pro quo kind of fashion, to you basically like doing something to you, violating me, right? So black folks tend to get violated. If you look all throughout our society, we get used in every single category. The public schools don't want to really educate you, but they need the black kids in those schools so they can get that bread for putting your son in special education, because that gives them double bread. The white folks in those little hick towns, they got all the prisons, like upstate New York and upstate Illinois. They don't want the black people in town so they can become full participants in that community. They want those black bodies in those prisons so they can get that federal money. The NCAA doesn't really want your black ass on college campuses. Places like USC don't hire black professors. They don't really care much about bringing in African American students to do biology, but they will go through every hood in America to scour for the next 6'7" superstar phenom that they can put on the basketball court and make $1 million from him. The list goes on and on and on. A lot of the businesses in your communities don't care nothing about your community. They don't want to see your community prosper. They're not standing by you in the midst of all this chaos. They're just there to scoop up a bag of money and bounce, right? So my point is to say that you get used in every single category of life, and being used is not the crime. The crime is that you're not getting something out of the deal. So let me dig into Bob Johnson. This is the reason I brought you guys here today, to talk about this. Bob Johnson is calling for $14 trillion in reparations. Bob Johnson, BET founder Bob Johnson. Now, did anybody give me a yes or no if you heard about Bob Johnson's call for reparations? Anybody heard that? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you heard about Bob Johnson's call for reparations. I'm gonna she's got me drinking my emergency every day because she don't want me to get corona or nothing. So let me drink this right quick. Some of it. So Bob is calling for reparations, which I think is good. I think it's a great thing. Reparations has been probably one of the biggest no-brainers in American history. Reparations has been that sort of thing where the answer is duh, right? When you bring up whether or not black people deserve some sort of compensation for what we've gone through in this country. Anybody who doesn't see that black people deserve reparations, like Joe Biden said in his stupid little interview with Charlemagne, where he was, saying all that dumb stuff that he said, like he said, if you don't understand this, then you ain't black. Well, I'm gonna just say it straight up. If you don't understand it, then you ain't got a brain in your head, because black people, we know if anybody deserves any form of reparations, anybody in American history and world history, it's us, right? We're at the top of the list. We should be at the front of that line. So Bob Johnson today the BET co-founder, goes out and makes an announcement that there should be reparations paid for slavery. And what I like about Bob's statement, it's coming from Bob, right? Which has baggage, right? Baggage is, Bob's baggage can't be denied. The creation of BET alone probably, Bob, we're going to need you to write a reparations check to black people for what you did to us by creating BET. Seriously, Bob Johnson needs to write that first reparations check. I'm expecting my stimulus to come in the mail because you done fucked up like at least a good 20% of all the black kids in our community, but that's beside the point. I think that this is a good opportunity for us to come together as opposed to necessarily dwelling on past sins. One thing about Bob as well is that Bob is a businessman, and sure, Bob has done some things that I can never co-sign on those things that Bob has done. But just because you don't agree with somebody in a lot of areas of life does not mean you can't have space to come together and figure things out. Let me give you an example. The Jewish community, if you read the book in the Black Business School, we have our students read a book called How the Jews Invented Hollywood, because we're building a Black Hollywood right now. You guys know this. We do Black Movie Night. Tens of thousands of you have come through for Black Movie Night. We're building an industry. That's what we're doing. That's how you build an industry. That's how you build an economy. And one of the things about the Jewish community is that the Jewish community had a lot of division. You'd be amazed. I mean, everybody thinks the Jews are all in lockstep on every issue. They're not. They have a lot of division. They have liberal Jews, conservative Jews, East Coast, West Coast, whatever, and Eastern European Jews, and I don't even know all the different angles that culture goes. But the point of the matter is this: the Jewish community had a lot of division, and despite the division, they were able to come together when they realized, wait a minute, Hitler wants to kill all of us, right? Hitler wants to exterminate all of our Jewish asses. And so we need to find a way to find common ground. So instead of me remembering the reasons why I don't like you, I'm going to try to start the conversation by remembering the things that we can actually agree upon and work together on. So I'm not into cancel culture. I'm not here to cancel Bob Johnson. I'm here to say that this man had a good idea, and a good idea does not become a bad idea just because of who said it. So I kind of need you guys to open your mind on that. So I hope you'll consider the fact that despite what you think about Bob Johnson, I hope we can agree that his call for reparations is a good one. I hope you can agree with me that Bob Johnson is correct, that that reparations are due, that they should be substantial, right? The only people that have been really speaking on, the $14-15 trillion level have been people like Dr. Claude Anderson. So I commend Bob for that, for the fact that it sounds like he's listening. He's listening to, I think Jason Black mentioned that as well, and I agree with him. I've mentioned 15 trillion. That's been my number, 15 trillion. I'll settle for 14. That's fine. But I think it's good that we're having these tough conversations. And what I like about what Bob has said is that Bob has basically laid down the gauntlet for all your so-called liberal allies. Bob is basically saying to these, all these people who are showing up, burning down the local Starbucks on behalf of black people, claiming that Black Lives Matter, saying that they're standing with their black brothers and sisters. Okay, cool. Well, you know what? We need you to put your money where your mouth is. Black folks, one of your biggest flaws, in my opinion, one of our challenges as black people is that we are far too often caught up in whether or not people like us and not as well caught up in whether or not people do right by us. I'm not really concerned with whether or not a white man thinks I'm his equal. I don't know if I feel like he's my equal. I'm not going to accuse him of white supremacy, because you might accuse me of black supremacy, because I love black people. I put black people on top. I put my community first. So I'm not going to call you out for loving who you are, because I don't want you calling me out for loving who I am. Right. So I think that we got to get off of this nonsense about, like, I'm upset because a white lady clenched her purse, or, when I got on the elevator, or I'm mad because a white person hung a noose up at my job. So did hell what? Was your neck in the damn noose? Was your neck in the noose? Stop letting people trigger you so easily. Seriously, stop letting people get you majoring in the minors. one of the reasons that you have a hard time rising up is because you're kind of dwelling for the crumbs at the bottom of the barrel. So I think that Bob Johnson's call can be used for this strategic reason. Not only does it allow us to check the allies and say, or so-called allies, I'm not a believer in allies. They're going to have to make me a believer. I've dealt with too much from white folks to really trust, to be honest with you. I know nice white people, but on a systematic level, I have just found that when it comes to really sharing the resources, they're just not real friendly about that. And they'll play dirty with your ass. They will play dirty with your ass to protect what's theirs, right? So, but I will just say this. I would love to see Bob Johnson and invite Dr. Claude Anderson, for example, to sit down with Joe Biden and talk about what the black agenda has to look like in order for you to get the black vote. Maybe you can even invite Diddy, but you got to invite some smart people. You got to invite, not that Diddy ain't smart, but Diddy's smart when it comes to singing, dancing, and selling vodka. We need some people that are smart when it comes to economics, smart when it comes to education. You got black scientists, sociologists, doctors, lawyers, professors out here who can really lay down a clear and specific agenda, but instead you always lean toward the celebrities. Well, that's an insult. That is an insult. That is an absolute insult, because basically you're saying that black people really aren't equal to white people. So I kind of want to see, I like what Bob is saying. I think it's good. It follows in line with what Dr. Claude Anderson has been saying for like 30 or 40 years. So we must give credit where it's due. I think this is the right time to mention this. We just spent $3 to $5 trillion on the stimulus package. Well, then you got the trillions necessary to pay black people back. You can get it done. This is a great country with lots of willpower to do all the things it wants to do. You talk about how great America is. You want to make America great again. Well, if you really want to make America great again, then pay your motherfucking debts. Seriously, if you want to make America great again, then pay black people what you owe. Seriously, you want to make America great again? Then stand by your word when you promised 40 acres and a mule back in the day, and you did not deliver on that. That was officially promised back right after slavery. So I'm going to just take the position that I agree with what Bob Johnson said. I think that Bob, he didn't have to issue this statement. Maybe he's feeling the emotion like everybody else. I saw Michael Jordan coming out making a statement. I really encourage you to try to at least be open-minded. You could be critical. We could be critical of black folks who are doing things that don't make any damn sense. But I encourage you to be somewhat open-minded to at least listen. You ain't got to like somebody to at least hear what they have to say, because they might have a good idea. I know we live in cancel culture. We live in culture where people live in silos and vacuums and they don't hear anything outside the silo. But I'm just going to encourage you guys, because you're here, you're different, you're special. This is a platform for intelligent black people. I'm encouraging, not telling, not ordering, but encouraging all intelligent black people to at least make a commitment to hearing all the ideas, even if they're coming from some black folks that make you cringe. For example, I'll hear Roland Martin say something. I'll be like, oh Lord, here we go again. But then I'll be like, damn boys, that was a good idea. You need to support that. I'll be like, okay, all right, it was a good idea, right? Or Jamel Hill, or some of the more integrationist type black folks that we may not align with, because I'm a builder. I believe in black independence. I believe in black strength. I believe in building black communities. My tenets are very, very basic. Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support black businesses. And then also on top of that, we should be policing our own communities. I'm a believer that that begging for a seat at the table is never going to be as fulfilling as building a damn table. So I would like to get with some table builders and start seeing what beautiful things we can create as black people working together, as opposed to always sitting around waiting on a white man to decide that he's going to open a goddamn door. Fuck you and your door. You can keep that motherfucker shut all day if you want to. Put a double bolted lock on that motherfucker, because I'm not even going to knock at the bitch. I'm not knocking. I'm not trying to get into your house. I want to build a house, because if I get myself into that house, I can't bring in my brother, my sister, my cousin, them, and everybody from the hood. I can't bring the whole neighborhood into your house. You don't have enough beds in your house. You don't have enough space in your house. But if I go build a community and build 3,000 houses in that community, then I can take care of everybody, right? So I'm just trying to say, at the end of the day, I believe, my belief, I'm not telling you what to believe, I'm telling you what I believe, and I'm not going to apologize for any of this. My belief is that we must commit ourselves as a community to building like our asses off. acquiring resources, owning assets. We can buy shares of stock. You can invest in things like the Tulsa Fund. Go buy some real estate. Like own you some property, man. Start you some businesses. Teach your kids how to be entrepreneurs before you teach them how to be basketball and football players. Like that's what's going to make us great. So that's my long-term vision for the community. I support what Bob Johnson said. I think that what he said was great. I think 14 trillion is a nice number to start with, and I believe that we should have the right people at the table when those negotiations happen. And I'll say this: Joe Biden, as much as he might want to get behind the social angle of what's happening with these protests, and from a social perspective, support black people, I need to see him really support black folks from a relevant and economic perspective. Don't tell me how much you like black people or how much, George Floyd's life mattered. We know that his life mattered. My question is, are you going to share some of that wealth that you stole from black people for all those years? Because we really don't really care if you think our lives matter one way or the other. We know our lives matter. We just want assets and resources that allow us to build. So anyway, I'm out of here, guys. I hope you guys have a good day. I had some crazy trouble with the live stream. I don't even know how much of this you guys heard, but hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. If you haven't done it yet, please hit that thumbs up button before you go. And also make sure you subscribe. And if you want to learn to buy your first share of stock and you haven't done it yet, you can do so for free by visiting firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. See you guys soon. Have a good day. I love you. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV.